All right. Yeah. This is a Nick Crowley. That's what the channel is. Probably fast becoming one of my favorite channels. In terms of creepy shit, it's got to be Nuke's top five. Nick Crowley and Scary Interesting. Three great channels. But anyway, Pipergate, a YouTube rabbit hole. This is a great channel just because he finds things that, you know what I mean, you just never heard of. But anyway, yeah, Pipergate. Let's go. Good churn.
Is everybody having a good time tonight? This is for you.
Extremely disturbing and bizarre channel. Notice the end of the videos. It's sick. Also, the comments. I think it's huge. This was posted to Reddit back in December of 2020, along with a link to a channel known as Pipergate, a page seemingly run by a young girl who used the account to showcase her video editing skills. It was a premise that admittedly sounded both innocent and mundane, only there was something strange about the child who went by Piper. Her edits were bizarre, violent, and most of all, highly perverted, despite Piper being just a kid. It didn't take a trained eye to notice that something appeared very wrong with this account and its owner. But just how wrong it really was is something that maybe I wasn't prepared to discover, because the Pipergate channel was really just a scratch on the surface of a decades-old internet mystery and the beginning of a rabbit hole that takes us deeper than we've ever gone before.
To be fair, yeah, this already sounds like it's going straight because I've been watching loads of like people exposing child, you know, and it's crazy how protected they are and how you can't talk about it. That's why I can't say certain things. But then you can have a video, and this is a complete side note, right? But my YouTube, yeah, if I do go, I rarely go on the shorts, but if I do go on shorts, it's either music, UFC, boxing, uh, yeah, and probably scary stuff and gangster stuff. That's pretty much what I watch on YouTube. That's it. And when I go on there, that's what it obviously because that's what I watch. That's what it shows me. So, but the other day I'm flicking through the shorts, and I'm not joking. I don't know if this girl was underage or what, but it was like a short of like a young looking girl at least, like doing one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like them type of girl channels where they go, "This outfit cost me only £22. This dress," you know what I mean? One of them type of things. But the girl looked oddly young. And I was thinking, why is YouTube? You can tell from what I watch, I reckon you could tell my rough age. Do you know what I mean? And that I'm male and wouldn't be interested. Why is YouTube showing me that? Because I didn't want to report the channel because obviously it might just be some little girl's channel. And I don't want to report some little girl's channel, but I did do the completely not relevant, like don't request me this. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking, why is it doing that? And from the things that I've seen, I mean, I can go on for ages. I'm not going to because we're literally only just started this video, but things I've been watching of people exposing and people actually investigating this type of thing. The internet is rife with it. It's why on if you set your video to for kids, there's no comments because there was codes like basically like creeps talking code in YouTube comments. And that's what I think this video is going to be a kind. I reckon it's going to be a kind of, yeah, ring, because it seems to be so rife in the elite, but not just the honest. Yeah. Anyway, let's just carry on because yeah, like I say, I could go on for ages, but it's truly disturbing how deep this goes. So yeah, this already sounds like it's going to be a disturbing one. But yeah, let's go.
Before we dive into this, I want to first thank today's sponsor, Hunt a Killer. Now that life is heading back to somewhat normalcy, and we're finally starting to be able to see our friends again, Hunt a Killer is the perfect option for your next group hangout, as it's easily become my favorite game night option. Hunt a Killer is a murder mystery game, where you're mailed a box full of evidence and clues of a fictional case that needs solving. It is incredibly interactive, and based off of my own experiences, it has a very similar vibe to what you would expect from an escape room, only with this you never even have to leave your home. As a longtime user of the service myself, I typically will break it out for date nights or having friends over for a few drinks, often leading to us taking it way too seriously, but that's the fun of it. So I do highly recommend heading over to huntakiller.com/Nick to browse their selection of themed boxes, and if you use the code NICK at checkout, then you'll be given 20% off your purchase.
That actually sounds pretty good.
The original Reddit post didn't offer much in the way of context to this mysterious channel, but in the comments beneath it, a user would share that they had found a similar account that was associated with Pipergate, as it featured the same distinct style of editing, along with the pages literally linking to each other. The second channel was called Isabel Piper, and in the year 2018, the young girl would post interchangeably across both accounts, and she did so at a very consistent rate until 2019 when she would abandon the two pages. Not much was known about the supposed girl running the channel, but throughout her uploads she would sprinkle in minor details about herself, at one point saying, "Please sub, I'm 10 years old and I make special effects." Something she was very adamant about across her page, as she was never trying to hide the fact that she was just a kid, essentially using the page to practice with her video editing, which would usually be something that's far from noteworthy, had it not been for the actual contents of her videos.
I would love it if you subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up for more awesome videos just like this one.
The videos unfold in a meme-like format with...
I'm telling you, this is some like advertising. Like I saw something, right? I'm sorry, we're gonna go well deep on this because this is like what I've been kind of watching. People that, yeah, they're exposing this sort of stuff. But a policeman was working on like the boat police in our country, like the canals. You can pretty much get around the whole of England in canals conveniently. But yeah, he said he basically tricked a lot. Basically, he had a meeting with all the canal people, all the people in canal boats near Twickenham. It was, I think, and basically said, "Have you got any complaints that you want to pass forward to us?" Like, and he said, and they were saying kids chucking stones off of things, whatever. And he's like, all right, write down your names and your addresses, and we'll get back to you when we've kind of progressed with your complaints. But really, he only got them so he could run their names through the system, and he found in like the around Twickenham, 90 registered, children offenders. It's ridiculous that you can't even say it. That like there's like anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, and one of the things that, because obviously this was like a while back, but Rosie and Jim was popular. So you'd see Rosie and Jim obviously on these boats that look similar to the Rosie and Jim boat, conveniently. Do you know what I mean? And depending on which teddy, whether it was, if they had Rosie and Jim, that meant they was interested in boys and girls, and obviously one or the other for one or the other. So this is sparking a lot of red flags, as in to be some kind of weird YouTube ring of creeps. But anyway, yeah, let's go.
Being thrown together in jarring and odd ways, and with each video bearing little similarity to the next. That is, minus the appearance of Piper herself, as well as a constant and disturbing air of sexualization. Some videos showcase crude humor that you would expect from a fully grown adult, and others feature much more disturbing edits. It was strange to say the least, but to solidify the feeling that something was in fact very wrong with this channel, one could simply look at the outro that she had adopted not long after starting her uploads. It's something that I'm choosing not to show you, and something that I don't suggest you seek out either, as essentially it's a revealing upward shot of a young girl wearing a small skirt, and though it doesn't quite qualify as CP, the suggestiveness of it is undeniable, as clearly it was meant to be sexual, and that is exactly how Piper's audience would perceive it. Commenters would say things like, "I love you, what's your Snapchat? LOL, you did it. You need some more booty shaking, but it was still good." And Estoy and a
Again, I'm sorry, but why are these accounts not tracked? Why is her account not flagged? Or it's not even, let's face it, this is not a little girl's account. But, do you know what I mean? Why? Alright, people don't use their thing, but at least, do you know what I mean? I don't know. There is, in the world we live in today, you could absolutely trace things. I reckon even with a VPN protector. But why aren't these accounts, right, at least banned from the site? It's amazing that you can't, like, certain comedy things have got me strikes. But this creepy, it's infuriating. It's such a bigger picture in terms of, I'm talking the whole world's elite. And especially the UK and America. The UK and American elite. In the words of Eddie Bravo, look into it.
Contactimonos, which although I definitely butchered, translates to "I'm in love, let's get in touch." And it's this comment that to me proved to be the most concerning, as Piper would actually respond by saying, "Thank you for watching, how old are you?" To which the man simply says, 19, and you? Piper then says, I am 11, leading to the conversation's end, with the commenter stating,
"That's what I mean." It literally is like, people think a certain type of, it's a certain type of predator, and it really ain't. There ain't no, like, I know that white people, it seems to be like the kind of old, like, middle-aged white man is what people assume, but it really ain't. It goes across every race, every age. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's disturbing.
En el amor no hay edad, or in love there is no age. The comments were few and far between on both of Piper's channels, though nearly every single one was flirtatious, despite Piper being 10 years old at the time of making the account. Whether she knew it or not, this little girl was making content catered to some of the worst people that this planet has to offer, and it's likely that she had no idea she was doing so. I mean, how could she? She was just a kid, right? Understandably, people began to wonder who this girl actually was, along with what her story is, as if she genuinely was just a kid, then being in contact with people like this would clearly be a danger to her. But it didn't take long for the cracks to start emerging. For starters, across Piper's videos, it's blatantly obvious that different girls are shown in many uploads, sometimes famous actresses, often from clips taken from The Amanda Show, as well as Lazy Town, while others are of child YouTube stars, typically taken from their older uploads when they were at their youngest. And most strangely of all, Piper used a similar picture across the Isabel Piper and Piper Rocks account, with this girl being shown in a good chunk of uploads, and Piper herself claims that this is in fact her. This is Piper, though in reality it appears to be yet another child actress, and one who looks nothing like other videos that Piper also claimed to be of her. It didn't add up, as not only did these girls clearly differ from each video, but most of these girls were easily identifiable as other people clearly not named Piper. The hole in these channels were undeniable. Piper could not have been who she claimed to be, but that didn't prove anything, as maybe Piper was just pretending to be these young girls and using the clips just to practice her editing, or even fantasizing of being famous. However, any hope of that being a possibility seemed to end on March 25th, 2018, when she would upload the video, "In the Woods Editing My Video," which was the first time that Piper would reveal her voice.
Hi guys. Well, I was editing some of my videos and I forgot and left the camera on, so thought I'd upload it and show you guys. Hope you like it. See you later, baby. Yeah.
Piper's voice was an obvious fake, and was clearly just someone making their voice sound higher, and then pitching it up in post-production. It sounded completely unnatural, and nothing like what you would expect from a 10-year-old girl. In fact, just pitching down the voiceover exactly 2 notches makes it sound much more realistic.
Well, I was editing some of my videos and I forgot and left the camera on.
And you can start to tell that it's seemingly a more mature and masculine sounding voice, clearly of someone attempting to sound childish and like a little girl. Between the lies told about who she actually was and the jarring fake voiceovers, which would end up being used multiple times,
I thought you were the Candyman.
it left many questions, but one resounding truth, that Piper was not who she claimed to be, and in all likelihood she wasn't even a child. So essentially what we have here is a person making hypersexual edits from clips of girls no older than 12 years old, while pretending to be a young girl themselves. All the while creeps are flocking to the channel to hit on this person who they believe is a kid. The whole thing is a confusing mess of darkness that leaves no clear answers as to what is actually happening here. It was initially theorized that this could be some kind of catfish scam, potentially made so that the owner of the account could solicit relations with the people watching these videos, believing that this person was in fact a little girl. Or perhaps even more likely, these pages were set up to catch predators in the act, using these channels as their in to expose those actively pursuing relations with minors, which was honestly what I hoped this was all about, as it seemed like the best case scenario. But with no leads and no mention of the channels across the web, it was really anyone's guess. However, upon finding the channel back in December, another mysterious set of channels had been gaining traction in the early months of 2021, and much to my surprise, the channels looked a lot like Piper's. In total, as many as 6 to 8 other channels were found, posting the same style of content, with the main ones being Piper Bynes.
I'm telling you, like I said, this is basically what I've been listening to. Ex-police officers, and one police officer was literally told, he basically, every department he went into, whether it was drugs, prostitutes, everything, every kind of that low-level petty criminal shit, every time one of them will come up, he's like, you go in their past and at some point they was in child homes, in this country, and they was abused in them, and it was covered up, and it was allowed to happen, and they was do you know what I mean? And it goes on and on and on. And if they didn't turn out to be junkies and prostitutes, then there'd be criminals. Basically, some of our most notorious criminals in this country were people who were abused. There's someone called Yummy B. He was a little tiny scared kid that ended up getting put into a child's home and abused, grabbing the compass from his math set because he just had enough and just stuck it in the person who was abusing him, just kept sticking him with it. Ended up going to prison, where then he was, you know what I mean, beaten up every day. And it basically turned him into a vicious, like, yeah, prison career criminal. Like, it's, and I'm telling you, this is signaling. Because, and the other thing is, I'm telling you that these people in this society are allowed. They're allowed to do this, and it's, in fact, they're people who are against this kind of thing and are trying to stop it. They're the ones that get their accounts taken down. Sean Atwood, I'm not joking, Sean Atwood nearly got his whole channel taken off of him because he was talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and he basically cannot say that name and cannot. And you hear him as the podcasts go on, like the more and more he started delving into it, the more and more he has to talk in code and tell his guests to talk in code and say, like, that guy who passed away in prison. Do you know what I mean? You have to say things like that because you can't say his name because he's linked to this stuff. And the people, like, yeah, this policeman, I don't know if I said it, but the policeman basically was told in this country, the one that was going from place to place to place, finding these abused kids, took it and basically wanted to start prosecuting this. And a higher up policeman to him basically said, he just took me aside and said, you don't understand what you're getting involved in. He's like, this goes to, he's like, this goes all the way to the top, basically. This goes to royalty. He's like, and if you carry on down this line of investigating this kind of thing, these rings and that, he's like, you will lose your career, your house, and your children. And basically, he almost did. They basically took everything away from him, was about to take his children, and then just from one senior officer, obviously not involved in this, basically looked at what he'd gone through and said, for God's sake, like, he's like, I'm going to pension, he's like, I'm going to give you your pension early because you've suffered enough and they're just going to make your life hell. So he's like, basically, that one senior officer saw what was about to happen to him, and that kind of this elite, yeah. I'm sorry to keep pausing this, but this really makes me furious. This shit really makes me furious. And I don't understand why there's people in prison in our country for putting a racist joke on social media, and yet these people get 3 years, are out in a year and a half, moved to another place and given a new name and a new identity. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then you've got someone who's doing 15, 20 years because they sell drugs. And like this policeman said, this policeman went to the police board and said, he's like, I can now go into a child's home, get a 12-year-old girl, start buying her presents, make her think that I'm her boyfriend, sleep with her, get my friends to sleep with her, take her from crack house to crack house to crack house, get charging for her. Do you know what I mean? It just goes like, he's like, and you have not He's like, I can go and do that right now, and there is not one, you've not employed one officer to deal with that situation. He's like, yet, if I lean over my fence and call my neighbour a racist word, he's like, you will send, do you know what I mean? You'll send this whole squad round and I'll be banged up, fined. Like, how does that? But anyway, hold on, I need more coffee because like I didn't realise this was gonna be, but I'm telling you now, this is gonna be a ring. And if it ain't, then please look into rings. Like, it's a horrible thing to do, but once you start, you're just like, this is unbelievable. And it's gone on for like since the beginning of time, basically, and it's satanic, 100%. But anyway, hold on, 2 secs. All right, yeah, I'm gonna shut up now. So I do actually want to know what this rabbit hole leads to, because yeah, but it does make me fuming. So I do apologise for my ranting, but yeah. Anyway, I won't stop it no more. Well, I'll try not to, but anyway, let's go.
Along with Christina Black and Nicole W., each of which featured the same distinctly crude style of editing and sexual content. And from the eye test alone, these channels were clearly related in some way to Isabel Piper and Piper Rocks, as they featured practically identical videos and subject matter, with the Piper Binds channel having been active as recently as 3 months ago, while the Nicole W channel was active as far back as 10 years ago, further adding proof that Piper could not have been a child, as the whole timeline of this rabbit hole is older than a decade, and is still active as of 2021, so in all likelihood she could not have been 10 years old just a few years ago as she claimed. To me, this longevity totally removes any thoughts of this being some kind of ARG, and it also casts doubt on the page having been made to catch predators, as typically those operations wouldn't stretch out as long as this one had. Plus, I don't think this would really be the most effective way to do so to begin with. But if it all was real, if someone really was just making this content, then its true purpose must be something of great concern, a concern that had been felt far before me. Though I first became aware of this mystery back in December of this year, in reality it had been investigated nearly since its inception, making the rounds across Spanish YouTube, as well as being posted to various forum sites here and there, with many concerned about its deeper meaning. And out of all the sites that would host discussions about this ring of channels, the one that would take it most seriously would wind up being 4chan. There, interest would grow so large that a group would be set up solely for the purpose of investigating the matter, in what they dubbed as Pipergate, with their research being cultivated into a 33-page report published back in August of 2020, where the true identity of Piper would be revealed. In the report, the investigators would outline how they found the email associated with the Piper Binds YouTube channel, along with a few other accounts under the same name on both Twitter and Facebook, both of which having since been deleted. The group would then perform a reverse search on the email, leading them to a man named William Glenn Whitaker, who, with some more digging, was found to have a plethora of other emails, with those being directly affiliated to the Nicole W. and Christina Black channels, along with the Isabel Piper and Piper Rocks channels as well, the channels where I began to fall down this rabbit hole. Our suspicions were correct. These pages were not run by a 10-year-old girl. They were not run by Piper, and instead they were run by William Whitaker, a 65-year-old man. He was behind these sexualized videos. He was the one taking clips from little girls' YouTube channels and using them for his disturbing edits and pretending to be them. And somehow, it only gets worse from here, as William wasn't just your typical old man making memes on the internet for fun. In fact, he was a felon, having been arrested back in 2002 after being caught with CP. William Glenn Whitaker was a registered sex offender, and he still is to this day. But the story doesn't end there, as this wouldn't be the end of William's legal troubles. Upon his release in the Tampa area, William would stay local and pick up a new line of work, as he started his own talent agency that went by the name of Wizard Productions Modeling Agency, with his specialization being in child stars. He would lure in families with the promise of stardom and connections to the music industry, something that would both excite parents and children alike. With this, he would then bring the children to his home and record them singing and dancing, with the promise that the tapes would then be sent to higher-ups in the music industry. But in reality, William had no connections. All he was a sex offender, and given his status, the business was completely unlicensed, a total scam, and was 100% illegal. He had set the whole thing up to obtain these tapes. What he did with those recordings is something that is still unknown to this day, though it has been theorized that he likely used them for his own personal use, as well as potentially having sold them to other people in the area, as well as across the web, an idea that seemed to have been insinuated in the news report. The lies would eventually catch up to William in 2005, as the police busted the operation and forced him to close his doors on Wizard Productions, though oddly enough, it never seemed like he was given any jail time for this, and it seemed his only real legal repercussion was having to close the business, despite his literal history with CP. Because of this, William was released to the public, having been practically unheard of since. Well, that would be until he'd make his start on YouTube, with the bizarre set of channels that we know today. The report was scathing, and most importantly, accurate, as I performed a background search on William myself, and the emails matched exactly. I mean, one of his was literally called Piper Rocks Hard, clearly in reference to the account he had made. With that in mind, perhaps the most worrying part of these channels is the fact that many of the girls that William has been showcasing most recently are YouTubers, most of which with minimal subscribers, and the vast majority, if not all of them, have their channels centered around music, with them all appearing to have dreams of making it big in the industry. Which is worrisome, as this just so happens to be the same industry that William had preyed on before. Plus, to make the whole situation just that much worse, a decent amount of William's videos have made it onto YouTube Kids, literally putting William in front of both predators and children alike. But even after all this, and through all the twists and turns, there is still one glaring question. Why? Why was William doing this? What was he gaining from making these videos? That, for now, is the question that has yet to have a definite answer. In the 4chan report, it was theorized that this whole thing was a front for distributing CP, something that, given William's history, is definitely possible. The investigators claim that this was done using a series of links posted within the description of the channel's uploads, while using the comment section to initiate the transaction, in which the predators would be invited into a mega chat room dedicated to sharing CP. And that was just half the operation. The rest would take place on Twitter, where William too had fake Piper accounts, only these ones were far more suggestive than any of his videos. On these accounts, commenters would flock to leave their flirtatious messages behind, a few of whom the 4chan report had proven to be predators. Because of this, it was again theorized that CP was somehow being distributed throughout these social media outlets, as both clearly housed numerous creeps. But for me, this is far from a solidified conclusion, as the links supposedly used in the description of the video are no longer there, potentially having been removed after the report was released. Though despite this, William continued posting his usual content for nearly a year after, without the use of this apparent elaborate system, which does cast doubt on this theory, as what would his incentive be to keep posting? And unfortunately, no tangible proof was offered showing any one of these alleged chat rooms. And along with this, the Twitter accounts that William used are long gone, having been suspended around the time of the report. But through the screenshots that are shown, it honestly just seems like a bunch of predators trying to hit on a child, with the investigators themselves stating that they're not sure how this system works. And with the accounts now gone, at the moment it's unfortunately impossible to verify its true purpose. For those reasons, it's a theory that I can't fully buy into, and not to mention the unfortunate truth that there are much easier and far less obvious ways of sharing CP. And though it's horrible to think about, it's no secret that CP is easier than ever to both send and receive through countless means across the web. But at the moment, I'm also struggling to buy this theory for the reason that despite the whole cover being supposedly blown, and the system on YouTube being quote-unquote figured out, William just kept making these videos. He never missed a beat. And with that system of links being no longer used, at least as of this year, well, that points to the idea that William isn't doing this for other people, but rather he's doing it for himself. That makes me wonder if perhaps this is all just a kink for him, a disgusting, sickening, vile fetish, where he gets off to pretending to be a little girl, almost like a twisted form of roleplay. Or maybe he just likes the thought of a little girl acting this way, the way that he'd most likely want them to act towards him. It's also been proposed that there could be a grooming scheme involved, potentially with the content being made to draw in both predators and children alike, which it has done a good job of doing so. But there is yet to be any actual evidence of this, and though it may seem plausible, there's at the moment nothing substantial to back it up. The truth is that we don't know what compelled William to make these channels and start posting this concerning content over 10 years ago. His motives are to this day a mystery. And it's a mystery that might just last forever, as William has taken it to his grave. According to the offender registry site in Mississippi, the state where he has lived in now for years, William Glenn Whitaker has passed away, with it likely having happened in just the last 3 months, something that is backed by the fact that he hasn't uploaded since March of 2021. The registry doesn't say what happened or how, but what is certain is that William is gone, and thankfully he is never coming back. The Piper channels were concerning from the jump, and made even more worrisome given the revelation of who created them. William and his channel should have never had a place on YouTube, especially not kids' YouTube. Yet William went practically unchecked, and it's strange because we may never know the true danger that these channels posed, if they posed any at all. But it's still a disturbing situation nonetheless, and it's at least a relief that these channels will now lie abandoned until their inevitable removal. But in terms of the whole scope of this investigation, I would say that it's far from over, as there are other players discussed in the 4chan reports, along with the whole Twitter side of this, that I will cover at a later date, and hopefully with some more digging we can finally determine once and for all what William's true intentions were. But until then, Pipergate will remain one of YouTube's strangest rabbit holes. Big thank you to my gold tier patrons and my god tier patrons, Ali Farmer, Bazoo42, Karen.
Well, I could have stopped that 100 times. But one thing I want to say, I don't know intentionally or not, or just lack of information from this channel, but he kind of made it seem like it's this one weird guy doing it. It's not. It's not. It goes, like I say, to the highest heights of society. And if you want my opinion, right, see mateys like that, like he said, now, yeah, it's easier to, you can make a global ring now. But also, it's, if you catch someone and they have, like they said, CP, on their thing, put them down. People always say chemically castrate, but chemically castrating someone doesn't take away the mind. They still get their hands on a child and they will just use things. it doesn't destroy the mind. Kill them. Put them down. And I'm not being funny, yeah? To anybody out there of this kind of woke thing where everything's acceptable, to you woke people that are trying to turn, calling it minor attracted people, to be honest, I'd kill you and all. To be honest, you can go as well. Because, yeah, that's my answer. People like him, do you know what I mean? Put him down. But no, like I say, all that happens to them is and that's why they're on boats here. They might get nicked. They'll go to prison. And do you want to know why the prison sentences are so small for these types of people and these types of crimes? Because the elite do it. The elite do it, and they do it, and it's satanic. 100%. I'm telling you now. And basically, if horror of horror, shock of all shock, one of the elite gets caught, banged to rights, cannot be brushed under the carpet, has to serve some time, he's going to get 3 years. He's going to get put on a non-swing. Do you know what, yeah? Don't even, this is what I think. Do you know what I mean? I don't even think you should bring back capital punishment. I think you should put them in with the general population of the prison. Just say to the guards, put them in there and just close your eyes for 10 minutes. Just do that. Let them get brutally savaged, beaten. And then, yeah. You don't know how hard it was for me to stay silent through that last bit. This is a, yeah. Like Cat Williams said, fuck Michael Jackson. I got babies, you nasty motherfucker. But yeah, that's the reaction. Sweet.